033, and this is for the Paul Trammel Morgan Hill Ventures Redwood Tech at 101 project.
The design permit process, it's intended to ensure that any new development and uses are compatible with their surroundings, right? And making sure that any impacts are minimized to our neighboring properties as such during this design process. And I wanted to ask, what were some of the specific considerations that you took during that design process to ensure compliance with that specific guidance of enabling this to really be incorporated well into the neighboring properties? Something that you took maybe specifically that you would not have done otherwise for the building design?
Fair question. I'll take a cut at it, and Teresa, if you have some additional thoughts, please add them afterwards. It has to be consistent with the environs, the surrounds. It has to be consistent with the zoning in terms of building height, coverage, parcel size, parking, etc. And so that's fairly straightforward. Beyond that, we try to add, concrete tilt-up business buildings in their simplest form are very, very rudimentary. They're a rectangle or a square. And so Teresa and her team spent a long time creating articulation in the vertical form and in the horizontal plane by adding materials, by adding glass or fenestration, as we call it. But I think one of the, and then certainly a robust commitment to the landscape, because the landscaping, the overused expression, at the end of the day, landscaping is half the outcome. Because if you go drive around any project, you see the landscaping more than you see the buildings in many cases. But I think one of our big moves here that I feel was inspirational was just an awareness of Morgan Hill from 101. What's the experience that you have driving up and down 101? And I know there's been a lot of very thoughtful concern about what happened on the west side of 101 across from us. And so we said, how can we do something that will be a good stewardship, will be significant, will perhaps even be sort of a soft landmark, if you will, as you come to and through Morgan Hill and 101, and thus the move to the notion of Redwood Tech at 101. That's more marketing, and so the notion of so many business parks are very juvenile plant material. They're very small, and you have to wait 5, 7, 8 years before it really gets to the intended scale. And while we said, you know what, we used to have a tree farm, and there was redwood trees, and it made sense, and there was a history there, or a soft precedent, if you will. And we made the commitment that we were going to create a colonnade, if you will, of 40 foot. I think the condition is 30 to 40 foot. But we're going after 40-foot tall, mature redwood trees, day one, all along 101, along the boundary east-west on the north, and along half, and along the Paul. And I think when it's there, as you come up or down 101, you're going to see at the oblique angle, you're going to see a colonnade of redwood trees. That's what your eyes are going to go to as you fly by, if you will, more than it is, a parking lot or a door. And so we made a commitment to the notion of mature landscaping. That was probably the biggest move. Teresa, anything else you would want to add?
Yeah, that's wonderful. Also the building orientation. So really focusing on the interaction with the residential, and the driveways had to line up. So it's just one sort of kind of hard line that we had to hold with that interaction, and orienting the buildings in a way that the most beautiful sides are visible from the public streets, and also shielded from the commercial that's up and to our left on the site. In addition to the landscaping, we completely redid the building elevations. So when we had that inspiration of the redwood trees, we threw away our old elevations and revised them so that the building design would become a backdrop to support it. So that's why the wood material came onto the building. We revised the paint colors to be more neutral to really support this natural feeling backdrop so that those redwoods were what you saw. We think it's quite fantastic. Thanks for asking the question, and Dawn, thanks for articulating it so well.
Thank you.
Thank you. I do see other commissioners having questions. Commissioner Scarlett, please.
Yes, thank you. I do want to comment on the richness of your choices in landscaping. But one thing, and you've repeated it again, is the colonnade of redwood trees. But it seems to me, looking into redwoods, that they really prefer groves as opposed to colonnades, which to me is a single line around a perimeter, which is, sort of typical to landscaping plans. So I'm a little bit concerned that a colonnade using redwoods, just my thoughts here, maybe we ought to look at how they are really going to be planted, because I do think that it allows for great feathering. Some of those walls are quite barren, as tilt-ups can be, and that would be my second comment. We can talk now or later. Every elevation has at least one wall that is that barren tilt-up. And as we talked before, the project along Butterfield, I think it was brought to your attention then, and it was great that you were accepting of the fact that maybe you do need to do a little bit more work, whether it's the windows, fake windows, fenestrations, something there, I think maybe taking a second look. So those are my comments right now at this moment. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Tonda?
Yes, my comment is a question to Don. I really perked up when you started to describe your vision of the use of redwood trees. I love redwood trees. And for 35 years at my current home, I've been nursing 20 redwood trees. I've lost 6 of them. And they are really tough to grow in Morgan Hill unless you have lots of water. And the city of Morgan Hill will let you know when you use too much water, which is frequently. But I just bring that up because it'll be a real challenge to keep the redwoods, beautiful, which I hope you can. And I just want to, as somebody who has firsthand experience with redwood trees, mine really struggle. Now, my neighbors, a couple of them have beautiful redwood trees, and I think part of it is because they have it planted in areas that have great soil. I have really bad soil. So just as a note about redwood trees.
Yeah, thank you. And without a lengthy response, we fully understand the risk. We understand the soil chemistry issues, and we know we have to do it right. But we're very mindful of that, and thank you.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, one more question. While Teresa's on here too, obviously we're going to lose them out of public comment here in a second. But for the record, I love redwood trees too. I'd love to have some on my property, but like Wayne, I fear the labor to keep them as beautiful as I'd like them to be. But I'm really looking forward to seeing some redwoods out there.
The appeal is the Plan Commission's decision to approve best intended parcel map and design permits for the Redwood Tech at 1-1 project, which is the Trammel Morgan Hill Venture application.
Are high quality and harmonious with the surrounding area. Our landscaping plan is robust, including mature redwood trees around the edges of the property, with an emphasis on the beautification of the 101 frontage. Frankly, we have imagined a similar treatment on the west side of 101 and how that would greatly enhance this important impression of Morgan Hill. Perhaps that is an opportunity that deserves more thought in the community.